Let's welcome back to the show former Labor Secretary nominee Andy Puzder. So the German parliament opposed Nord Stream 2. European Parliament opposed it. President Biden opposed Russia's Nord Stream 2. Secretary of State Antony Blinken opposed it. But then they now waive sanctions on it and say go ahead with it. Pipeline's bad in the U.S., good overseas. What's happening?
Well, we have a president who absolutely has no understanding of what makes the economy work and doesn't appear to be all that interested in protecting American interests. He seems to be interested in protecting the interests of other countries. In this case, our enemy, Russia. I've heard some people theorize that there was a hack against the pipeline here in the United States. It came out of Russia, that the Russians pulled back, and maybe there was some deal where they allowed this pipeline. But I sure hope that's not true. But we need the Keystone Pipeline in the United States. We need more pipelines, and we need to stop the Russians from increasing their influence in Europe. How can you disagree with that? I mean, that's obviously true.
Is this theme emerging that the Republicans are going to try to deliver Reagan 2.0 to counter what they say is President Biden's Jimmy Carter 2.0 agenda, rising costs of food, gasoline, long gas lines, stagflation? Do you see that theme unfolding?
Yes, I do. I was 30 years old back in 1980. I remember the Carter administration and the Reagan administration. It sure feels, like we have somebody in charge who's just incompetent, who doesn't really know what they're doing, that are taking actions that specifically cause inflation, increasing demand beyond anything we've maybe ever seen in the economy, while we have limited supply because the pandemic hobbled supply lines, and they're encouraging people not to work with these unemployment bonuses. So you're doing exactly what you shouldn't do coming out of this pandemic and recession. You're actually killing economic growth, which would come if you just sat back and did nothing. The economy would grow. They're absolutely destroying what could have been.
We also have former President Trump reportedly plans to hold rallies in Florida, Georgia, Ohio, and North Carolina. Let's talk about the hidden tax that you just mentioned about inflation. Inflationary pressures and expectations jumping to levels not seen since the 1980s. The Philly Fed survey of manufacturers showing that. The businesses are now in inflation mode. They expect a 4% rate of inflation over the next year. Companies like Procter & Gamble, Kraft Heinz, Coca-Cola announcing price hikes due to increasing commodity costs. Is this now upon us? Because gas is now, I think it's up, 40% more expensive since President Biden sat down.
Yeah, gas is something that increases in cost when people anticipate that there won't be a great supply of gas. And killing the Keystone Pipeline and pursuing all these green initiatives is destroying the perception that we're going to remain energy independent. Look, inflation is here. Inflation is coming. And that hurts working and middle class people. It limits jobs. It makes things more expensive. It reduces wages. When interest rates go up to fight inflation, people that have assets do just fine. They collect these high interest rates on their investment. But it's middle and lower and working class Americans that get killed by this. And they're already suffering, and that suffering will continue.
Got it. So we've got the Republicans focusing on kitchen table pocketbook issues. Now what's happening? We're seeing the Biden administration wants to get the IRS to access and track people's bank account inflows and outflows to go after taxpayers who may be underpaying or avoiding taxes. The IRS has never gotten this information like that on that level before. So it's pocketbook issues versus the Democrats keeping alive things like the Capitol Hill riots. How will this play out in the midterms? Will people look back and will they only look at pocketbook issues? How do you think it's going to play out?
Well, number one, all you have to do is remember the name Lois Lerner to know that this is a power grab by the Democrats. This is an attempt to use the IRS politically, which is something they did about 10 years ago, and they will do again. As far as 2020, look, raising taxes is just one problem they have. You've already discussed that we've got a crisis in the Middle East where we had peace. Peace broke out across the Middle East. Within 100 days, we've got a crisis. We've got a crisis at the border. We've got an economic crisis with inflation, with people refusing to work because the government's paying them not to work. We've got a crisis with energy. Energy prices are going up. This all sounds very much like what we were facing during the Carter years. And I hope the Republicans have a Ronald Reagan out there. But I think in 2022, if we don't take back the House, then look, working and middle class Americans will have only themselves to blame. This is a very bad
All
trend. We're headed in a very bad direction. We can turn it around in 2020. At least we can stop it for a while. And then 2024, we need to change direction completely.
Andy Puzder, great to see you. Come back soon.
Good to
Up
see you, Liz.
next,
Thanks.
The Hill.